South Coast Artist Index Gallery X Documentation Project Series, hosted by Sean FitzGerald. The project is the first phase of an agenda to scan Gallery X's entire collection of documents, including news clippings, posters, flyers, photographs, and more. The scans will be archived and later mined for information specific to the artists who have had their work exhibited or who have performed at the city's oldest continually operating cooperative art gallery. Join Sean and his guests as they discuss the project and the history of Gallery X, its visual, performing, and literary artist members and volunteers.
Good. Hello and welcome to the South Coast Artist Index Gallery X Documentation Project. I'm Sean G. FitzGerald, your host, and it gives me great honor to have in the studio today someone who is responsible for documenting the history and the essence that is Gallery X. We felt it was essential in having her in here to speak on what it is that she's been experiencing and to explain a little bit more about her role and exactly what it is that the Gallery X Documentation Project is attempting to accomplish. So at this time, I turn the microphone over to our guest in the studio. It gives me great honor and pleasure to turn it over to her. Why don't you give us a little introduction as to who it is you are and what it is that you do here?
Well, hello. Thanks for having me. I am Christine Maiato FitzGerald.
Oh, hello, Christine, and
Hello, Sean.
it's a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Outstanding having you here in the studio today. I've heard so much about you, and I've seen some of your works. But before I get into that, what is it that you do? What is it that you do, Christine?
Well, I am a multimedia artist, and I've been affiliated with Gallery X since 2014, I believe. And I was tapped by Ron Fortier to get involved in this scanning and documentation of the history of Gallery X.
I see. And for the listeners to understand more thoroughly, the scanning and documentation. So what is it that you're scanning? What is it that you're documenting? Why is this so important to Ron and to the history of Gallery X?
Well, if anybody knows Ron,
Yes.
he's not only a painter, but he's a documentarian, all about history and, of course, the gallery, the Artist Index is all about documentation.
Yes.
And documenting the artists that are in our New Bedford area. So Gallery X, is a huge part of the artist community. Obviously, it's been around for 35 years. This August makes 35 years. And I am in the process of going through countless folders and envelopes and binders and scanning and creating a digital documentation of anything and everything that Gallery X has kept over the years, whether it's press releases or postcards or articles. I'm scanning every single piece of information and keeping a digital file. And by that, I mean it's so specific that I'm keeping folders listing everything by the year, whether it's a scan, whether it's an article or it's a postcard, like I said, or press release, poster, and labeling each piece and dropping it into the appropriate folder for preservation.
I see. Now, these pieces, how did you come across these pieces?
They were at Gallery X.
Okay.
Zach, the director there, has everything stored in the office. So
Thank the art gods for Zach, right?
Yes, and even before Zach, I'm sure it was Chuck and Sue and whoever else.
And so these were kept in a area where they organized in any way? Was it kept
They're somewhat organized. They're better organized now, but like I said earlier, there's some that there was just literally folders or envelopes with just packed with different pieces of information. Not everything is labeled by the year.
Right.
So I've created different folders for an approximate time frame. Like I think I have a folder called William Street or Spring Street because Gallery X was first on Spring Street.
Originated, yeah.
Yes.
We spoke about that with Chuck and Sue. Everyone, really, yeah.
Yeah.
And so at that point, you're able to kind of guess or estimate as to what time period those were based on the address, I guess, right?
Yes, correct. Because not everything has a year. Usually, if there was a press release or a poster advertising a show, the year is not automatically put in there. So
That must be quite interesting to be going through. Tell us about. I've seen some from my travels here and there, Gallery X, but I see that you brought us some here.
I did. I brought the binder that I'm working on now.
Outstanding.
It's 2003, and there is some really interesting postcards in here. I've noticed in doing this project, Gallery X really has tried to be inclusive of everyone. Whether you're an emerging artist, obviously that's what they're known for. They'll take anybody, you know. They want to expose all artists, and it doesn't matter the medium. But students and pairing up and collaborating with other galleries, maybe, like this one here, this postcard is from AS 220 out in Providence. So it's really interesting to see the collaborations over the years. There's also different projects that had to do with kids, exposing kids to art, having art shows that had even young children. It looked like some of them were of elementary school level, but also high schoolers too, and not just from New Bedford, Fairhaven, Dartmouth. So it's just a real nice mix of trying to include everybody.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the community in Gallery X and their impression on the community, definitely reverberates throughout those local towns.
Absolutely.
And I mean, up until even today, it seems to be more and more widespread, more and more ensconced, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, we just keep growing.
We do. You know, it's so cool looking at some of these. La Soul Renaissance.
Yeah, so they would
Tuesday,
not also...
February 11th, 2003. So they're not... And it's great to see Gallery X is doing this again. It isn't just...
It's not just art
visual
shows.
art.
Right. It's
art
poetry,
as well.
Yeah.
The rebirth of life, of love, of meaning, of music, of poetry, and of the soul itself, featuring Busted Fro, Everett Hoagland, Moses, Rihanna, Gremlin, Jessica, Cedric, Nasita, Marks, Jamie Lynn, L.A. Nick, and music by the Egalitarian Ensemble. Yeah, so...
The folks that have come through Gallery X in one form or another is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, and I imagine that in your travels here through the archives that you've been tasked to search through. Tell us about some of these folks, Christine.
Well, I did come across, I'm looking at my list now, the very first article that was written in the Standard Times, and that was in 1990. And the title is, if I can read my writing here, Christmas marks Christmas on the spot. It's an article from 1990 in the Standard Times. So that was the first time that Gallery X was written about. I also have here... There's several articles. There's some in 04. I mean, it just goes on. And again, it's all different. Hip Hop Team Art on View. Gen X in 2006. It just goes on and on. There's just so many different things here. There's also, I came across some awards and citations. And the year on that is 1993. And the city of New Bedford gave an award or a citation. I use both words here, so that must have been listed on the document that I scanned. Participation in neighborhood cleanup.
Really?
So, again, just a lot of different things that Gallery X has been involved in, not just art-related.
So many different facets of community that they have affected. And now, let's see. What is so cool are some of the flyers for the events here.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Hand-drawn, before CGI, before digital art.
Yes, and I wanted to mention that. Some of the documents that I've come across, I'm just going to call them documents, some of them are original. They're not just the poster copy that was made and hung up somewhere. Some of them are the original hand-drawn or piece that was for that particular event. So that was really cool coming across that. And to look back on to see the different styles. Oh yeah, so this one right here, as we're looking at this.
Yeah, this is designed
This was a
by-
contest. There was a contest for a Gallery X show. And I
see.
believe this was a high school they proposed this.
Yes, it says present Gallery X presents high school select.
And I think that might have a year on it. I think that's 2003.
It is March 13th, 2003. An exhibit will run from March 8th through March 30th. And this was designed by Adam Gonzalez, who won it. And he was from Fairhaven High School.
Right.
Congratulations, Adam, once again.
Yeah, I wonder where Adam is.
21 years later.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
we
wonder if
should
he's still in art or
Google
what is he
Adam.
doing?
I hope so.
Yeah. Because it's a great flyer. It's a great
Let's have
design.
our producer do that while we're talking, and he'll get back to us. Okay, can we get that arranged there? Rex is on it.
He does.
So tell us a little more, Christine. Tell us. So it seems like Gallery X has really developed this culture of inclusion for all artists, right?
Yes.
Visual, audio, and of all walks of life, right? I mean, they
Absolutely.
don't discriminate
No.
in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Everyone's
tell us so about some of the themes, some interesting themes that you might have come across as far as shows go. You know, some of the flyers that you saw, as far as really unique shows maybe that you wouldn't experience at other galleries.
Well, let me take a look here. Let's see. I mean, I thought for sure bringing in the children's art or the young kids' art was so important.
For sure.
I don't think I realized that they had done that early on. It was always, my impression was always it was obviously adults, but we do have youth membership.
So
yes,
important.
We do have that. So
Especially in today's day and age where art is getting cut left and right.
absolutely.
It's so vital to our survival, too. So many people turn to the arts during the pandemic. Looking through these, tell me a little bit, what's this Rasta band? I keep seeing the
I can't
Rasta
believe you're
band.
just going to say it because I was just going to read one of the, so the folder I have it in is Spring Street, so it must be
Okay.
old because there isn't a date, there wasn't a year on it. And the Rasta band, it looks like it was a poster. I don't have it here. I didn't bring that binder with me, but if memory serves me right, that is Chuck Hawk's band, the Rasta band. Yes.
Now, we had Chuck in the studio also with his lovely wife, Susan. And so he is quite the character, and what a
yeah.
talented man, huh?
Yes.
So, Chuck is he's a
Sculptor?
he is a painter.
I don't know if he paints.
I thought I'd seen him, or does he? I thought I'd seen him do the sketches of the old
Oh, could
waterfront.
be. Oh, could be. I just don't know.
And he is a performer.
He
And
sure
he's a
is.
puppeteer, too,
He
right?
is. Yes.
Billy Bones, right?
Billy Bones.
Billy Bones.
That's right.
Yes. And he's a musician. So, what is his role in the Rasta band? Do you know?
I think he sings.
Of course he does. Chuck
Yeah.
has lead singer written all over him,
Yes,
right?
he sure does.
Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness.
I just wanted to say, too, quick, is that, I owe my art career to Gallery X and Chuck and Sue because they were president and director or whatever their titles were at the time. But so I just wanted to say thank you because I wouldn't be sitting here right now if it wasn't for Gallery X. So.
And, yeah, they've had quite the impression they've left on several people in this,
Yes.
yeah, uncomfortable, awkward silence. Yeah, they've been so important to us. And, Chuck has helped to really take things by the reins creatively in so many different aspects for Gallery X.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's go back to what we were talking about prior before we got distracted about Chuck
Yes,
and Sue.
sorry, about
Yeah.
different art shows
Yes.
that has been there. So there was a recycle art show back in '01, which I thought was interesting.
You
Again,
know.
I'm looking at my notes here. So it looks like it was a poster that I scanned for a recycle art show. And another, I don't have the year, but it's William Street, so it's at the current location, that there was a poster for AS 220, and it's entitled Art Switcheroo. So the artists from Gallery X had a show in Providence.
AS2.
Right,
Wow.
and vice versa. So I thought that was interesting.
Sweet.
Too. Again, another collaboration. Right. And they also had, again, William Street, so where they are now, a senior fine art exhibit, which a lot of times it would definitely appear that the art community may overlook some of the so-called senior artists. So there was I don't know the year, but there was an art exhibit dedicated solely to seniors, fine arts. So you
Superb.
got the children, you've got, so again, all inclusive.
A little windy out there today. Some leaves are brushing up against the window.
Is that right?
It is. And so, Christine, you mentioned, I think I started to get a little distracted thinking about what Chuck and Sue meant to me and Gallery X. We've talked about what your role is currently, what you're doing in regards to the documentation project of Gallery X, but explain a little bit more before we lose track of time. What have you done, in Gallery X? What else have you been a part of it? You mentioned since 2014. What are some of the roles that you've played, some of the things you've been involved in there? I think the listening public wants to know.
So yes, I've been a member. I believe it's 10 years, but I had my very first solo show in 2016.
Nice.
Called Retribution Refuse, which was interesting because I thought my very first show would be painting, because I paint, but it was actually a photography exhibit.
I think I
Self-portrait.
I may have.
You may have seen it.
I remember that.
You do?
Yes,
Okay,
very
great.
stirring,
Oh, thank you.
breathtaking, really.
Thank you. And I've gone on, I'm so blessed to have been in numerous group shows there. I did have another solo show there. I forget the year, but so I've had two. I'm working on another show for September.
Nice.
And I've also been on the board. I'm on the board right now currently as treasurer.
Oh, okay.
And I also was secretary.
Really?
So I think, give or take, the last 4 or 5 years I've been involved
Mm.
on the board.
So you've got a deep passion, it sounds like, for Gallery X.
I certainly do.
Yes.
Like I said, I credit them with my art career, and it's home away from home. I actually got married there as well.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
How long ago was that?
That was 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, 7 years? Really?
Yeah, 2017.
2017.
So it's 7
I
years.
see. In August or?
No, May 13th.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so it just passed.
Just passed, yep.
Very good. Very good. And we share the same last name.
We do.
That's odd.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. Well,
Do you have a capital G?
I
in
do.
FitzGerald? Oh, so do I.
You do as well.
I do.
Amazing.
Oh, wow.
Wow, you learn something new every day, don't you,
Every
Christine?
day.
It's just wonderful. It's a wonderful world. So yes, your role is integral to this project. To get back to on a more serious, your work. Tell us about roughly how far along are you? What's a work day? Not a work day, but explain to us a little bit, how you go about when. Okay, I'm going to do a little. Is it archiving or like,
So
what's your process?
My process is I can't do it in real time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't start from the very beginning because I'm just grabbing things as I go.
And as you're grabbing them, you're trying to put them in order as well?
I'm trying to put them in some kind of order if need be. For example, this binder that I have here, it's labeled 2003, so I'm good. I don't have to keep that in some kind of order. I mean, I'm keeping it in order as I take things out. But there are, like I said, the envelopes and different folders that I've had previously worked on. I'm trying to keep those in some kind of order. So I just literally carefully take everything out of the plastic sheeting that it's in, and I have a scanner and a laptop from Ron at home, and I carefully scan the document. Sometimes it's a front and back, especially if it's an article. There may be more than one piece, and I label it. I try to be as specific as I can, and I have a running list, which I have here with me now, and that's what I was reading from before. I have a running list, and I try to give as much detail in the title, so whoever is looking at it has a really good idea of what it is that they're looking at. I have little codes here in the title. P is for poster, PC is for postcard. If there's an A, that means article. And then there's a 1 through 5 system also, meaning how much information is contained in the document. 1 is not so much information, and the highest is 5. That may contain a lot of information. What information is that? Does it list several artists? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So that has been my process, and then carefully putting it back into, and then off to the next one. I try to, I will have this project done by the end of the year. So far I have, there's so much. I won't be able to scan everything that we have. It's 35 years worth, or close to 35 years worth.
It's a daunting task.
It is. It's very involved. It's you know, I'm a very organized person and detail oriented. So I think that's why Ron wanted me to do this. I worked on another project for him, transcribing.
You were the
podcast.
Oh, you were the transcriber for the podcast.
Yes, I transcribed. They're currently archived at the Whaling Museum.
Outstanding work, Christine. Will you be transcribing these podcasts?
I don't know. We shall see.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
That would be odd, wouldn't it, if you're transcribing your own podcast?
I did do it the last time.
You did?
I did. It just happened to be one of the ones that I transcribed.
I'm sorry, but isn't that against the code of ethics morally for...
You'll have to take that up with Ron, because he told me to.
I don't want to be myself on the other end of a riot outside again.
So yeah, so I will have it completed as much as I can.
That's
done by
that's
the end of the
admirable.
year.
Thank you so much for taking that on.
I'm honored that I was tapped to do this. I really am.
It must be a bit of must feel. I find I used the word integral before, but your role in this is vital.
I guess it is.
It is. I mean, you're both the key master and the gatekeeper at this point, right?
It's interesting to see all the different articles and posters, and just see how the art has changed just on that itself. Never mind the themes and different things like that.
Well, it's funny as I'm looking at this, to touch upon what you're mentioning right now, when you were describing how you've cataloged the marketing materials. I'm thinking I do quite a bit of marketing for myself and a number of projects I'm involved in as well. And this is almost the perfect starter course for Marketing 101 if you really want to do it the right way. You've got posters, flyers.
Postcards, old school.
Old school. And just this folder here, just the different kinds of designs, the hand-drawn designs, the old school cutting and pasting on some of them.
Yeah, it's really exciting when there's something in there that is an original.
Yeah. Everything is so heavily...
Yeah, it's all computer.
Computer and even sourcing,
I mean, and it does have its place.
It does.
There's some really wonderful graphic designers out there. Damien Gerard is one of them.
Oh, for sure. Damien's helped me out in so many ways. Gerard Design.
Autumn Sear. I mean, Kat Newton.
Eileen Riley.
I mean, there's a bunch.
Mitch Cumstein comes to mind as well.
Yes. So, yeah, that's not quite my thing. Never has been. Computers.
Oh my goodness! Look what I see here.
See, and I haven't gotten that far yet. I don't know.
I'm just going through this.
It is.
Is that Walter?
It really is.
So
it's Walter Grant.
Oh
See,
my goodness.
You don't know.
Wow, you don't know.
You don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet in that. I'm
Walter
halfway
Grant.
through.
Walter Grant, a.k.a. Don Chisel, MC in my band, the NB Rude Boys. We're going through this
Isn't that-
2003 folder of
See, you never know what you're
press
gonna...
releases.
Yeah.
And
That's an actual article.
this is an
in the
article. They were
South Coast
performing
Living.
Saturday evening in this month's session of La Soul Renaissance.
And that's in 03. That's in 2003.
And Walter Grant.
Oh, that's... See? I love that. And,
That's so
and
cool.
Ron is hoping for snowflakes. That's what he calls it.
Yeah.
Come across somebody who, we kind of forget about them and now they're rocking it somewhere, or haven't quite gotten there yet, but I've got a long way to go. I probably scanned about 300 pieces at this point, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's like, I'm trying to think how many hours worth that is. It's about 50 hours worth of work. And that's just a little dent. So,
And I mean, you also, besides being an artist, you do other things.
I have a day job.
You have a day job.
I have a day job. I'm a paralegal. And
So, I mean,
I
that's-
choose those words carefully. It's my day job.
Right.
My real job is an artist. I like to say that. Because
There you go.
I'm talking to the universe. The universe is listening.
So you are an artist
Yes.
who also does some work
Yes.
as a paralegal.
Correct.
I see.
like that. I'm also a yoga
You have
instructor.
a side job as a paralegal.
Yes.
It's just
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
I like that.
I like that. I like you, Christine Maiato FitzGerald. You're all right. So tell us a little bit more, if you can, Christine, about what you feel about this project and what Ron's taken on here and what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Well, first and foremost, this is a monumental task. I mean, again, 35 years. This got to be... I'm barely scratching the surface of all these documents, whatever, like I said. And it will be interesting to see how much I can get done, and hopefully down the line, there'll be another opportunity to continue it. And just to see who I will come across in this whole exploration and documenting this history of Gallery X.
Are there any names that you've seen stand out, or maybe not stand out, but you've seen repeatedly, maybe in some of the designs, let's say, or in any way?
I have seen, there's a lot of Swain alumni mentioned, including Sig and I believe Joe Raposa.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him.
So Gallery X was essentially Swain students who
Yes.
were looking for a home, right?
Pretty much, yes.
And they really set their own rules up. One thing I wish I had asked Chuck and Sue when they were in the studio is, and maybe they did touch upon it. What was the genesis for creating their own place? I wonder if, because they play by their own rules, which are very open. But I wonder if were they not really finding that openness elsewhere?
I think that's true.
You know?
And I think this is 1990, downtown New Bedford. Totally different scene.
Totally different vibe.
Totally everything.
Yeah.
Everything different.
Art was a lot more. It was more of a commodity. It was.
I would
There
agree.
weren't not many platforms, really, stages.
No, and I
for.
think that's what started it.
I mean, there were a few, but it seemed like they played by their own very strict rules.
I'm not sure there
those-
was a co-op like Gallery X. So you did have the meeting of the minds. Don Wilkinson, too, I believe, was part of it. So you did have these artists come about and wanting a place to show their work, and as well as other artists, and bring people in. Again, inclusive, of
Other
all.
like-minded.
Yes, and they were on Spring Street for a time. I don't recall how long.
Yeah, I don't remember the details. Zach, when Zach was in here, just such a well of information, really. He gave a chronological breakdown of the building as well as of Gallery X. I want to say Spring Street was in the area of around 3 to 4 years
Sounds about right.
before they were able to find that location on William Street.
Mark St. Pierre, that's another name.
Mark St. Pierre.
Yes, as I look at my list. And so my list, I will mention also,
Mm-hmm.
I make little notations as to different mentions of artists or persons. And so I have here in '03, there was an article in the Standard Times, Gallery X pays tribute to Swain legacy, and I have a notation, Joe Raposa, and also Sig and Mark St. Pierre.
Mark St. Pierre.
And I have a notation also, more. So that article is labeled a 5, so there must have been numerous artists that were mentioned in that article. I just couldn't write down all of them. And that was in '03. So that folder, this binder here that I brought in, has that article in there.
What was the first show that you exhibited work at for Gallery X? Not your first show, but...
It was the public exhibition show, which at the time had a different name,
Yes.
called the Public Hanging, and it's been since changed to Public Exhibition. And I believe that was in 2014. And I remember the piece.
What was it? What was the piece?
Called Angry Baby.
Angry Baby.
Yes.
Angry Baby.
Okay.
Tell us about...
Well, my niece Marley was months old and did not want to be in her car seat, and the expression on her face was just like, I feel like that a lot, and I should paint this, and I did for a class project actually with David Barnes was an instructor of mine, and he came up with the name Angry Baby, and it was perfect.
Did he come up with the name?
He did. I believe he did. Looked at it and said, that's Angry Baby. And that was the very first piece that I've ever had in a show, and it was quite exciting. It was at Gallery X.
I have seen that piece. It's definitely spot on.
Yes.
Yes. And I saw the photo. You showed me the photo. Christine and I have met prior to this session here in the
I know
studio.
you a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Angry Baby.
Angry
And
Baby. Yes.
now the public exhibition, now as it's called,
Yes.
that just had its opening
Yes. Last
this past Saturday, August 3rd, I think
August
it
3rd.
was. And that was their second largest show.
Yes.
I believe-
290 pieces.
I believe last year's was their largest, right?
Yes.
Last year's public
Three,
exhibition.
Yes, I believe it was 300 pieces or 320. There's 99 artists at this show currently
Wow.
in 2024.
And explain for people who aren't familiar with that public exhibition show. So why is it called that? What are the
It's our
benefits?
anniversary. It's the anniversary,
Right.
and
It enables the
any-
public, right?
Yes, the public. I was talking about the year. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But yes, it's anybody can enter. You don't have to be a member.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a member to enter any show at Gallery X, unless it's a solo show that someone's putting on. But any call for art, anybody can enter. Just need to check the requirements for what the medium is.
But now for this one,
But for this one,
there's no
it's-
medium requirement.
nope.
And is it $35 for 5 pieces?
I believe it is. And
I
if
mean,
you're a member, it's free.
It's free.
So sign
for
up.
$35, you can
I believe
hang
it's
5 pieces.
Yes.
And there's no restriction on size.
We may have
Medium.
put a restriction.
Size matters now at Gallery X.
Well,
I guess it's always mattered in some
Well,
segments, right? No.
I think this time they did.
Maybe, yeah. Well, you
but
know
it's
why?
like- It's still
I think
very
because of last
generous.
year. Yeah, I mean, you're
Yes.
talking the church walls,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been known to get a lift there to put things up as well.
And we also, by the way, it's not just in the main gallery. The show continues in the Frederick Douglass Gallery as well,
The
downstairs.
Frederick Douglass Gallery.
Yes.
The Frederick
Sorry,
Douglass
I have a hard time
Gallery.
pronouncing
It's
things.
that's one of our speech exercises here in New Bedford. We have to be
Yes.
able to say 5 times fast.
So
So you've got it upstairs in the main gallery as well as the downstairs gallery. And so that has really brought many people into the fold in Gallery X, including yourself.
yes.
Many folks who may have been intimidated, even just, artists, for the most part, are sensitive individuals. Showing their works can be daunting and
It's nerve-wracking.
challenging,
You
nerve-wracking.
really are vulnerable in putting yourself out there. So
So, I mean, the public exhibition allows you to feature your work along with other peers in the same boat as you.
right.
Many of them have never shown before, or it's their first time, and what we're seeing is such a positive response. People end up wanting to come back, and like yourself.
And that is the magic of Gallery X.
It really is, Plus, they have really good Kool-Aid. I don't know what they just can't get enough of that. Yeah, it's quite a place, and I mean, I got a little emotional when I had Chuck and Sue in here because I'm not sure what it is. I mean, maybe it was the way they welcomed you, the way they welcomed me as well.
Yes.
There's a vibe about that place, and it derives right from them. But with and the other folks too that have brought this place up, Johnny Neiman,
Yes, Johnny.
Screaming Johnny Neiman, I mean.
Yes, how can we forget
Oh
him?
my gosh, I mean,
he's a huge part.
He's a huge part. We've got John coming in next, actually.
Excellent.
So we are so excited about that.
See, and he is an artist. He's a musician.
Mm-hmm.
So again, different. Very involved with Gallery X, also on the board, I believe, at one time or another. And
yeah, vice president, I know, but I
Right.
believe he served in all capacities.
he's a wonderful musician.
And I was talking with a couple of the local musicians in the area, and Uvea, actually, known as Jimmy Goo in the local music scene. And he's jamming with Johnny. And the thing about Johnny that people really, Johnny's so humble. He's rather quiet, but when he gets on stage,
He's a different person.
and that's the thing, you put anything in his hands. And the thing that everyone notices is that he's phenomenal on everything. Drums, bass, guitar, his vocals, his background vocals, and his performance too. He's got stage presence,
Yes.
for miles.
He's an extraordinary musician.
He really is, and he has a lot to say too. When
Great
you
person.
when you sit down with him, and
Yeah, very interesting dude.
yeah, he speaks from the heart. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I'm honored that I am involved in this project because I do have such a love for Gallery X.
well, it shows, Christine. On behalf of Gallery X and Ron Forty and the South Coast Artists Index Gallery X Documentation Project, we want to thank you for all your hard work and for your determination in seeing this thing through and archiving the history and the culture that is Gallery X. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm honored to do it.
Okay. Well, we want to, again, thank you for listening. I am Sean G. FitzGerald, your host for the South Coast Artists Index Gallery X Documentation Project. And next in the studio will be Screamin' Johnny Neiman, and we are so excited for that. For now, you take care out there. Stay outstanding.
You have been listening to the South Coast Artist Index Gallery X series. This series and the documentation project was made possible by ArtNet and Wicked Cool Places, funded by the City of New Bedford through the American Rescue Plan Awards and its Arts, Culture, and Tourism Fund, and is facilitated by New Bedford Creative at the NBEDC.